Ah, North Carolina. Beauty, sunshine, and beaches. Lots of people in America are moving here, and for good reason. It's a great place. While lots of places in North Carolina are truly fabulous, there's also cities in the Tar Heel State that outright suck. The worst parts of North Carolina. You know them when you see them. They're the parts of North Carolina where you don't want to go, if you can help it. Just look at Scotland County. The goal today is to highlight the cities in North Carolina that are the worst of them all. How do we do it? We measure the things most bad cities have. You know, where people are broke, crime is sky high. We even measured the public school funding levels. Let's get started.
Shall we begin?
Our first stop on our unfavorable journey through North Carolina starts in Dunn, located about halfway between Raleigh and Fayetteville along I-95. What makes Dunn such a lousy place to live? Well, for starters, the public school system is horrendous and has one of the lowest funded districts in the entire state. Crime is bad, and according to locals, drugs are rampant. What's good about Dunn? Well, they have a rooms-to-go furniture outlet and a cookout. For lots of North Carolina residents, having a cookout is like heaven. Way up in Rockingham County near Virginia is the small city of Eden. You know when you get there when you see a car up on blocks. And don't let the name of this place fool you. The numbers for this place aren't very pretty. Eden has one of the worst economic situations in the state. They rank in the bottom 5% for income levels, crime is in the worst 5%, and home prices are some of the lowest in the state. For some reason, Eden was designated a North Carolina Certified Retirement Community, meaning more senior citizens may be moving to Eden. Seniors don't bring jobs with them either, if you know what I mean. What's the bright side of living in Eden? Well, they're trying to make the downtown area great again, so that's positive, but they better put a lot of handicap spots in. If you took Route 74 south from Charlotte, after about 3 or 4 cigarettes, you'd come to Whiteville, and you'd be scared. Whiteville residents have a 1 in 80 chance of being the victim of a violent crime, meaning raped, attacked, or murdered. Fact is, Wesboro is the type of place where you don't want to let your guard down, or you're going to have a bad time. Is there anything great about Wesboro? Well, since Anson County is pretty much the meth capital of the state, you could probably earn some extra income on the weekends if you lived here. Continuing our worst tour of North Carolina, we come to Whiteville, way out in the middle of nowhere on your way to South Carolina. In fact, as we're going to see, lots of the worst places in North Carolina are all right along the South Carolina border, making this part of the state a abominable row. What makes Whiteville such a lousy place to live? Besides being a boring place where there's a lot of drug use, crime is the 6th highest in the state and 8% of people are out of work. On the bright side, they're trying to fix up the downtown area, and it sounds like the long history of corruption and bribery is finally coming to an end in Whiteville. Plus, Whiteville High has 3 state basketball titles. If you drove your beat-up car down I-74, after you passed Rockingham, you'd come to the little city of Hamlet. Hamlet's the 5th most dangerous place in the state, where residents have a 1 in 18 chance of being the victim of a crime. For a town this size, that's shockingly high. The unemployment rate is hovering at 8%, and the folks here earn $33,000 a year in combined income. And according to locals, the schools are horrible. Is there anything good about Hamlet? Well, they have a regional medical center in town and a pretty cool Victorian train station. That's fabulous. Straight north on I-77 from Charlotte is the small community of Statesville. Crime is really high, home prices are low, and households bring in some of the lowest incomes in the state. And if you have to commute into Charlotte from Statesville, forget it. I-77 is a parking lot just about every day now. Yuck. What's good about Statesville? Well, most of the crime and blight appears to be located mostly downtown. And what about fun? You're in luck. Statesville has more than a half dozen Redbox rental machines in the area, where you can get all the latest movies. Hey yo, this video is brought to you in part by Clippers on Martin Luther King Avenue in Charlotte. Come on and get your hair done, they do it tight and right. That's Clippers on MLK. G. We built this city, and now it sucks. Welcome to Laurenburg, North Carolina, one of the worst places to live in the state. It's also down by the South Carolina border. It doesn't get much more dangerous and depressing than Laurenburg. Crime is the 8th highest in the state, and a whopping 11% of residents are out of work. In fact, you could probably get beat up for wearing the wrong hat in some parts of Laurenburg. So you better play it safe if you want to stay out of trouble. Is there any good news coming out of Laurenburg? Well, we looked for something positive to talk about, but most of the news was about robberies and shootings. You wouldn't have to drive too far from Laurenburg to get to the next city in our list, Rockingham. This is also a truly dangerous place with low home prices and high unemployment. In fact, it sounds like if you don't lock something up at night, in the morning it'll most likely be gone. Is there anything great about Rockingham? Well, they earn more than the people in Roxboro, so they can brag about that if they want to. Just outside of Rocky Mount in Edgecombe County is the lousy city of Tarboro. Believe it or not, but home prices are the cheapest in the state here. That's certainly a sign nobody wants to live in Tarboro. And sadly, the unemployment rate's above 10% and the public schools are pretty broke too. We tried to find some advice from forums where people were talking about moving to Tarboro, but apparently no one's moving there anytime soon, or at least publicly admitting it. If there is a silver lining to living here, Tarboro has its own airport for some reason. And where's the worst city in North Carolina? That would be Lumberton, hands down. Another city on the South Carolina border where it's hot as hell, boring, and really dangerous. Lumberton has the worst crime in the state, nearly 9% of folks are out of work, and most people struggle to make ends meet. When you're in some of the worst cities in North Carolina, some parts might be hard to tell apart, but you can tell who's from Lumberton though. They're the ones with the 40, the pistol, the beat-up car, and a pit bull. Other signs are from Lumberton: your local Subway's behind glass. They lock up the tide at your Walmart. If you don't live in Lumberton or any of the other North Carolina cities we mentioned, you don't have it too badly. Congratulations.